Welcome to Talking Out of Slot, the podcast for primarily 132nd slot cars. Other scales are available. I'm Nick.
And I'm Scott. Hello, everybody. We've got a guest and a celebrity racer on board this week. It's Autosport magazine's World Rally Championship journalist and long-time slot racer, Tom Howard. Hi, Tom.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm not sure I'm a celebrity, but yeah, thanks for having me along.
Compared to who on this show you are.
Definitely. Our booker promised you that you're a celebrity.
It's true. Anyway, it's only fair that we throw you straight into the mix and say, tell us about yours. What is it about slot cars you love? What do you collect? How did you get into it? All that sort of stuff.
I guess I've always been into motorsport, so model cars was always going to happen at some point, and collected model cars, and then obviously as a child you see a Scalextric set and you want one, and I unfortunately I lived in a house where we couldn't have a proper full size Hornby Scalextric, so we had the micro Scalextric, and then I said to myself as a child that as soon as I get my own house, I'm having a proper size Scalextric. So once I bought my own house and started moving out, I explored the hobby again, and it's now exploded to the point where I'm sure my other half is not too happy about the amount of cars and track that are about. I moved to Australia in 2013 because my other half's Australian, and we got a house there and had a huge sort of 4-bedroom place, and I just used most of the living room to build a slot car track. And then I moved all that back across with me to the UK when we moved back in 2020. So there's a big collection in this room that you're talking to me in. I just love collecting cars, and I think I've probably got more than 160 in this room.
And they are predominantly rally cars, I guess?
No, so I've got a bit of everything. So I do like all forms of motorsport, so I have, but mostly I'd say my collection are on 90s cars, because that's when I grew up and was sort of introduced to motorsport. So a lot of 90s F1, a lot of 90s Super Tourers, a lot of 90s rally cars. I do have some sort of stuff that's older than that in the 80s as well, but I do like collecting those. I've got obviously V8 supercars from Australia because I worked over there. So yeah, I pretty much have a sort of anything really. If you look in my cupboards, there'll be sports cars, F1 cars, rally cars, touring cars, you name it. There's all something in there.
Yeah, I think we all suffer from that. Oh, bright shiny thing syndrome, don't we? But I always had a theory that the most difficult car you buy is the third one, because obviously pre-digital days you've got a 2-lane track. You only need 2 cars, and the justification for the third one, and then you've got a 4th one, a 5th one, and then the next level is when you buy the same car in a different livery. Because essentially then you're collecting microscopically thin layers of paint, which is how I've ended up with a huge number of Fly Renault 5 turbos. But we will probably come to that later.
Nice. That sounds great.
I was only allowed one a year back when I was a nipper. I got my first set when I was 5, but then it was like 1 car a year.
Ooh.
Wow.
So yeah.
I mean, I've suddenly got pictures of black and white and you in short trousers and a flat cap. I mean, should I dig out the Hovis music for that bit? Yeah.
Kids today don't know their
young Nick being taken to the toy shop with you're allowed 1 car. Which one will you pick?
It was often after British Grand Prix qualifying. We'd go to British Grand Prix qualifying, and on the way home, we'd stop off at Beatty's in Milton Keynes shopping centre. And that would be my chance to buy a slot car.
Ooh, lovely.
Fantastic. I remember Beatty's in Milton Keynes, yeah. Well, I was lucky growing up in the very dim past, unlike you two. My town model shop was actually split in 2. One side of the aisle was Airfix kits and stuff. The other side was the record shop, which was very clever of the man, because he got us when we were under sort of 10. And then we just kept going to the same shop buying records afterwards. It was genius, really.
Nice.
So, again, Tom, I know you're just back from, well, I want to say somewhere, but that rally was in 3 different countries. So it was called the Central European, something like that. So, so you were in lots of places, but what was it like?
In terms of the rally itself, really good, a really nice idea from the WRC to incorporate 3 countries into one event. It's a good way to take the rally to the people. Lots of people there, huge amount of people. Probably some of the most I've seen this year, actually. So I thought the stage was a great, really good concept, but for me and the drivers and the teams, they need to sort of look at the itinerary a bit. The days are too long. They are doing too many road sections for the stages, kilometres that they actually do. So I think moving ahead, it will be on the calendar next year, and I'm sure they'll make some tweaks. But as a concept, I think it was brilliant, and I think it's about time that we see some new ideas come into the WRC like that.
That's good. All that distance between the stages makes. I remember. I think although Slot Rally GB happens at different clubs, but the event is at one club. And we did think about having one where you would travel from, you do a stage at Farnborough, and then you would drive to Liverpool.
That's brilliant.
But it's probably in scale terms, it's probably the same as what you were doing. Wouldn't it? Ridiculous driving for sort of 50 miles in order to drive a slot car for a few meters. But
and I do have Yaris WRC and Yaris Rally 1 slot cars. So
do you?
Engage smug mode? Smug mode.
Yeah.
I do, yes. Because licenses don't affect Spanish men who live in sheds and turn out resin slot car bodies. So they come without decals, so you have to sort of paint the livery on, which is not the hardest job. It's just white with red and black splodges. But so I've got the WRC and last year's with the scoops on the sides, Rally 1.
Oh, nice.
Okay. What
jealous.
We need is a Spanish driver, because my theory is that if you get a Spanish driver in a car, SCX will make a model of it. So
like the Danny Sordo
I was really
Hyundai.
hopeful that when... Yeah, exactly. Well, and that every car Carlos Sainz ever walked past. But I think we. So I was very hopeful when Alonso was driving the WBC car that he would get a run out on a rally just so we could justify getting him. But sadly not. But never mind. And Nick.
Yes.
Yes. So we could definitely hear off-stage actors, I think is the expression.
Yeah. Apologies for that. But I have come downstairs for a reason. I am not in
is this a good time for you to
technical centre / office?
Is this a good time for you to show us what you want to show us?
It is, because it's rather large, which is why. But this is
You're boasting again.
English pounds. 20 English pounds has bought. Hold on, my wife's deposited lots of Halloween stuff on top of it, but quite big.
Okay. I'm getting ready with the mute button. Oh no, it's okay.
Ta-da!
Oh.
So, there's not even any creases in the box. It's this Subaru challenge, which, there it is. So a full set. It's in that sort of hybrid period where it's Scalextric Sport track, but old-fashioned controllers, and they hadn't started calling it Scalextric Sport. And it had the two Subarus in it, which has sent me off this week down a complete rabbit hole of Subaru liveries to put on these and any other Subarus that are around. Because whilst, they look a bit sad in their natural state, let's be honest... this was the days before Fly and the reinvention of slot car design. Here is an Scalextric Subaru in its raw form.
It's not bad looking though, is it? Like, in all seriousness, it's pretty.
Bad.
It's not a bad shape, really.
Here's one that I've polished up earlier.
Oh.
Yeah,
so
wheels make all the difference. Yeah,
Ninko wheels and the decals, which I think were from '98 Monty, but I wanted the '97 RAC car because that was such an incredible event. I mean, it was like being at a pop concert or a football match where everyone's on the same side, and it was just incredible. So I had to mask off the original door numbers and roof number and the sides, because they had different sponsors in '98 on the rear wing. Mask all that off and then spray it in appropriate blue and then put the decals on and then shoved in some Ninko driver figures. So yeah, there we are. So they do sort of scrub up quite nicely.
They do, and they go quite well. They go quite well because they're quite wide, and they go well on smooth, flat track. The minute there's
they
a
go
bump,
well because
you're in trouble.
Scalextric obviously then decided that it was going to make more money selling cars to people that just put them on a shelf. So it's got front axle travel up and down, which helps on lumpy, bumpy bits of track. It's got a tray interior, which fortunately they've gone back to, and an inline motor. So yeah, there we are. They're perfectly workable little cars. There's actually a really good body shape. It's just quite well concealed when they look like that. But that and that are exactly the same machinery. And yeah, they go really well.
The wheels make all the difference. Back when, well, you guys might know the date better than I do, because of the fun that BAR were having trying to get a livery past Bernie, because remember they wanted to have one in 555 and one in Lucky Strike. So that inspired me to get some Lucky. I think it's the only, well, one of a handful of reliveries I've ever done. So I reliveried a Subaru into Lucky Strike, which is dead easy. I just had to paint it white and put big red roundel dogs on it. But it does look a lot better, because it's but they're nice and low. Some insiders to the industry told me last year that the key thing is 30 years back for selling models. So given that we're now in 2023, 2024, that means the mid-90s is absolutely ripe for them making models of. So you never know, somebody might do a new version of the Subaru Coupe that's save you having to do all that repainting.
It fits well for Tom's. Tom's disappeared. Tom's
I'm here.
collection.
Yeah, no.
I was going to speculate that he was just reaching out to get a car. He said he's reaching out to get a car.
No, if they're going down the 90s route, then I'm all for it.
I think they should do 100%. I mean, every time like Simon from Scalextric pops up on the forum and sort of ideas are being mooted, it's always super touring. And that's very me. I'm up for some of that.
Absolutely.
Well, I gather from the very man you mentioned, Simon, he said although that super touring gets a lot of social mentions for them, it's their worst selling line. So they make lots of not super tourers, sorry, BTCC in general, not super tourers, but BTCC in general.
Modern BTCC, no one was.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if the old one's any better, but certainly they weren't served well. I mean, none of those super touring cars by Scalextric are.
Everyone remembers them. 5 million people used to watch BTCC in the 90s on Grandstand. Now you've got 60,000 people watching it on Dave or ITV4, isn't it? I mean, no. So and it's not manufacturer-backed professional series anymore, is it? It's just blokes.
And just
get us being sniffy about 60,000,
Just to add to that, we had this year the Super Touring Festival at Brands Hatch, which I attended and was doing a podcast with some of the old 90s Super Touring drivers. And I can tell you now that the crowd for that event was enormous. To the point that they're actually going to do the Super Touring Festival again next year because it was such a success. So if Scalextric really wanted to make the most of it, I would be saying get yourself to that event and flog as many cars as you can because I think you would sell a lot there.
I've still got most of my old Toka uniform, so I might wear that and come down and write a press release and then print it off and fax it to a distribution list, as I used to have to do after I got Alan Gow to scowl at it.
Yes, that's so very good. My attic is similarly got a coat hanger, which is my CV in cloth form. There's a sort of not all of them still fit. I hasten to add, but I mean, it's super touring. I guess the challenge for them is that even if the Brits bought some, I'm not sure it'd sell terribly well in America or Spain or anywhere.
It was an American Super Touring series.
And it was an Australian one as well.
It was Dominic Dobson in a Dodge.
Yeah.
We went and did Bathurst. That was fun. Because I had Alan Gowers over there and he was making prank calls to people at the time. And I got a phone call. And it was like this real ochre voice. And I was like, oh, this is Alan taking the mickey. And it was like, so why'd you call your car Super Touring? And I'm like, well, because we couldn't fit Brilliant Touring on the poster. And stuff like that. And it turned out it was actually the Bathurst radio station, and I was live on air in Australia. Now, we ran V8. I only got little 4 pots. Why are you doing that? No, sorry. I thought I was being wound up, and it was an actual radio interview.
I'm desperate to now search Google and see if that still exists.
Because then we got a phone call from Alan saying, haha. Yeah, really funny. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, well, I can imagine you'd have enjoyed that, actually. I can imagine. But, Tom, in my notes, when you were when Nick was pre-grilling you on this, he said you're looking forward to Scalextric's Puma Rally 1 car.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, but what about the SCX one, you see? Have you considered going Spanish rather than British on your...
Yeah, I have I've got a snow section of SCX track on my layout currently. So I do dabble in a bit of SCX stuff. And I did see that they were doing a Puma, because they've done the Jari Huutonen from Rally Finland last year, which is an odd one to do. I just don't understand why they've been able to get that out quicker than the Scalextric one, because obviously we're still waiting.
We could.
One does have the proper Monty logos on, doesn't it?
It does,
so
and they've done the Green Smiths and the low livery, so I understand that. But yeah, no, I'm very much looking forward to it, and obviously I just got the Science Escort, and the Subaru, the McRae Subaru they've done. So, the Puma's the next on my hit list. So I'm I've been waiting for this for a long time. So it would fill a gap in my collection.
Well, I was joking all along because I think Scalextric they announced they were doing the car first, and SCX said, "Oh, we're doing it too," and then they managed to get it out a couple of months ago now, isn't it? So,
because it even featured on that Hornby Model World TV show on that was not long ago. I know it was a lot about model railways, but they did a Scalextric episode, and one of the episodes was them designing and showing the prototype of the Puma, and that's like more than a year ago now. So I know that it exists. I've seen a prototype on television, so I'm just sort of like, come on, bring it out.
Yeah, no, it's. I always love it when you get two manufacturers doing the same car, just to kind of see how close stroke different they are. But I must confess, partly because of the time I was buying lots of SCX rally cars because they were the one making them. I've a tendency now, if there's an option, then SCX, because at least they're roughly kind of comparable. Although I bought the Escort, the Repsol one you mentioned, wasn't on my wish list. Saw it on the shelf and thought, yes, I've got to have. That's the one. I think that's a very nice car, that one.
Yeah, it is. It's really lovely.
Does it go well?
It does.
On your snow track?
I was a bit worried because I'm not a big fan of the rubber band four-wheel drive, if I'm being brutally honest. And I was a bit concerned about this when I heard that it was going to be like that. But once I've worn it in, it's been all right, because I was at the start, it's a bit sort of lumpy on the power, and you sort of like suddenly you get all this power at once, and you're like, no, that's not how it should be. It should be more linear. But now I've worn it in, I think the band has got a bit more sort of worn in. It's much better. Like straight out of the box, I was a bit unhappy, but now I've given it a proper run in. It's fine.
It's not sort of proper cosy turbo lag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they've not got the accuracy quite down to that yet. I did the SCX Puma has gone back to rubber band because they want to fit the digital chip up front, and at first when I had it, I had a tendency every sort of 7th lap it would de-slot on a high speed bend. Couldn't work out why. And amongst the many things I tried was taking the rubber band off, and I did the 10 laps. And they were exactly the same time, exactly, with and without. It made no difference whatsoever. But what I found with a lot of the cars, when you take them out of the box the first time, the tyres are very sticky, and the decay on stickiness you could probably plot. And even after a couple of days or several laps, or whatever, there's just a bit less stickiness, and that just helps because they'll just slide a little bit more, or they'll maybe wheels a bit swing. So I think that's one of the reasons. And the SCX car now, I almost can't get it to D-slot at all. Without being an idiot, I can't get it to D-slot. It just seems to have just slips rather than tips, and that's best. But I love the Escort as well. I mean, not a lot of grip in those tyres. Do you take the magnets out? Are you a magnet or a non-magnet man?
I do a bit of both.
It's okay, you're amongst friends, you can be honest.
Bit of both, but my SEX Snow my SX Snow Track's that bit, where it's really ultra smooth and they're supposed to slide, so it's like a sliding hairpin sort of thing. So if you take the magnets out there, for example, my Lancia Stratos just won't go round. It just can't. It can't handle the lack of grip. So so it's an interesting one, but you have to do a bit of both.
Well, though, because there's aluminium rails, isn't it? And so there's no magnet traction on those, or it was on the ones I did. For a couple of years now, I've had the Polycar track up, which I love. But I used to have a circuit stroke stage, which was made of sport, old Scalextric, some SCX stuff, and a bit of that. So the different surfaces, and it was always really, it was good actually. Some cars worked great on some of it. Almost didn't even notice they were on a slippy smooth, but other cars were like all over the place, which didn't help their time.
You've got some more classic rally cars that could be gracing that track before long, haven't you? So I believe.
I confess. Well, what I'm having rallies to myself lately, and somehow or other I'd managed to get nearly 100 cars out of their boxes, and I thought I really need to put these away, and I've spent days literally trying to reunite cars with boxes, more or less there. And as is the way with these things, I've got a couple of them sitting there going, I'm sure you had a box. I just can't find it at the minute. So they're not quite going away. But of course, in the course of doing that, it's like going in the loft or the garage and rummaging through old books or magazines, isn't it? You start off tidying up and you end up reading or playing. So in the boxes, when I was looking for the box, I found and I'm holding. I'll try and find the camera. There we go.
Oh.
So a Fly 911 from. And Nick, you'll have to help me. What, 73, 74? So that late, is it? Oh, wow, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's lovely.
Should have a Giton. Now, these were hit and miss because sometimes the axles weren't as round as they could be. This one is spot on. It drives beautifully. And what I'm debating is that it comes taped to the... where are we? There we go. Taped to the underside of the box is a little blue envelope. And it's not, as older viewers and listeners might think, a packet of salt to shake over your crisps. It's decals, which should have Giton, little dancing ladies and whatever. And as you can tell, the near collector that I am, I haven't broken the seal yet. So I'm going, shall I put the decals on? Should I put the decals on? Should I put the decals on? Anyway, the other one, while I was sort of playing with that, was... This is a much more recent purchase. Where's the camera again? So it's a Team Slot Lancia Stratos in the checkered flag, black and white livery. Now, Team Slot Stratos is a little bit of a caricature. It's a little bit, it's not quite right, but it definitely oozes Stratos. And in this one, again, I don't think the camera will pick it. They got the wheels beautifully. So this was one of those. Yes, I've already got several Team Slot Stratoses, but I need another one because I collect microscopically thin layers of paint. So those were amusing. Those were amusing me out in the slot shed last night. So yeah, rally cars. I've got this theory that rally cars are more fun when you play on your own. Because they run on their own anyway. You're not meant to be, and you can run against the clock. So, plus the fact I'm a bit of a rally nut. And Le Mans cars are kind of like rallies, aren't they? They head off on a long journey and have regular service stops. So it's kind of the same thing. And there's different classes.
I'm not sure I'll get that.
Around pace over 24 hours, don't you? Whether you're
you don't think I'm selling that one
in the bar. You got to measure. You got to pace yourself.
I'm not sure I'll be able to get that into an Autosport magazine copy if I tried. The sports cars is like rally.
Well, Believe me, it's a concept worth developing. I think.
I'll try.
Lynch mobs outside the office.
Well, you think there's sort of, there are co-drivers. Okay, they're not quite the same. As I say, they don't go the full distance in one go. It's right anyway. They get pulled out of ditches. There's all sorts of stuff that's roughly the same. And the biggest factor is that the spread of driving talent is pretty wide.
Yeah.
But never mind. So, Nick? What else apart from buying Subarus? What else have you? In fact, you've got to say it because you say it better. Man, come on. What's the catchphrase? What?
Which where?
Oh, he spoiled it now, hasn't he? What's caught your eye, Nick?
Sorry. What has caught my eye? I tell you what, it's the Australian issue of the Holden VL that's coming. We're getting it in a Rothmans livery, which is fine. Any opportunity to throw period branding on a car these days, it gets thrown on. But there's the Holden team car, the Holden, I guess, dealer team would it have been in 86,
So we've been the Walkinshaw run.
Or was it 8?
It was
Walkinshaw
one. Yeah.
So the white with black and red Holden, which just looks rather saucy.
Yeah,
it
looks
in the shops already in Australia, I think.
Yeah, I'm hopefully going to get one of those for Christmas because my other half's going back to Australia for Christmas. So she will bring one back.
Tom, anything particularly obviously you mentioned the Puma, but anything more that's been announced recently that you fancy?
Yeah, obviously Nick sort of nailed that. Yeah, I'm obviously quite big into my V8 supercars, having worked in that championship before, so that Holden's very much on my list. I'm trying to think actually. I do like some of the NSR Formula One cars that they've been doing. The sort of 80s and 90s cars that they've done an upgrade, haven't they, on the new? So I've got the current 80s one. I think they've done a 90s one, which is on my list. Because certainly they've done it in a Jordan 191 green livery, which is very much on my list. So that's sort of the next thing, I think.
What does that cost? It's about 90 quid or something.
They're expensive. Yeah,
something like that.
They're quite pricey. I think I've paid £70 to £80 for those.
Get on eBay and find an old SCX Jordan F1 car with the steering.
Oh, I just like they run really well. They do go very well.
Trust me, shape over.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I should just do an original job. But they do. There's something about them when they on my track. They just run so well. I've never had an F1 car run as well as those. They just seem to go really well.
Yeah, I've not got one, so I shouldn't comment really. I've only got one. I finally got one NSR car at the last swap meet, I think, which I bought very second hand just to sort of see what all the fuss was about.
Oh, there's a bit of fuss. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Was there a celestial choir playing as you put the car on the track, and it's all, oh, this is what it's all about?
No, it didn't quite move me that way. But I probably feel a bit more special about this old Jeton 911 actually. But it was, I think the livery. I mean, Nick obviously is the relivery king, and if we can get him to confess to exactly how many old Subaru Imprezas he's been buying, because judging on the number of liveries he sends me pictures of.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I've ordered the first set of decals because it was offered to me. You know how you put something on watch on eBay and then suddenly you get an offer come through, which apparently the vendors have absolutely no idea about. eBay just does it randomly.
Surely they must select open to offer, no?
Don't know, but it was a Swiss privateer that ended up with a two-door Subaru WRC competing in his national championship. It's fluorescent yellow with semi-fluorescent red on the rear wing and on the nose and a green stripe on the side. It's foul, but it will stand out, and it's a bit different, and it was like £4 for the decals. And I think these brown bar cars, the Super Touring, the rally cars, even to an extent the F1s, the Jordan 197 they did, that's not actually horrible. The Ferrari 643 can be made to look quite nice. That era of cars, they really are. If you want to buy a number of cars to race with friends, race at a club, or repaint, like I do, you can get them for. I mean, I put a whole set with 2 cars in it. One's got a bit of a scuff on it, but it's going to get painted anyway. 20 quid for a set, 10 quid for a car. And when you look at the budgets of what stock cars are these days, you can really make them look quite nice for pennies. So I'm all in favour of the brown bar stuff, Super Touring, F1 and Rally. Perhaps less so the Group Cs that Scalextric did at the time. I know a lot of people still swear by them, the Jags and Saubers and the Porsche, but they're slotted, so you don't really need to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anymore. You can put those out in the garden with your gnomes and your water features.
Flo, are you taking the mickey out of my outside track? They're not gnomes.
They're marshals.
They're
painted at orange suits on them.
Oh dear, we'll get in trouble now from the Marshals Club now. But yeah, so I'm just on the brown bar thing. I sort of agree, but I take magnets off my cars, and they're the hardest car to get a magnet off because they glued them in with some substance, and when the magnets just break, they don't come out as one. You know, they're like little bit. So if you're lucky, you can get a good edge like a chisel, and it'll ping. But most of the time, they break and they crumble, and it's just a nightmare. So
so the brown ones are so weak. Those magnets, they're basically not magnets at all. It's just a bit of ballast on the car. But it's just that era, isn't it? So when we talk about brown bar stuff at like the club, we run brown bar classes for this, that, and the other, like the GTs. So the Ferrari F40, the Porsche 911 GT1, the Diablo, stuff like that. It's a really good entry-level class for somebody coming to the club for the first time. The cars are virtually indestructible. They cost 10 quid each, and they're all fairly evenly matched, apart from the Jaguar XJ220, which is terrible and never stops being terrible, no matter what you do to it. But then again, the real cars like that. So. Tim did a track test on one. He was like, "It's got no brakes. It's got no brakes at all, and I can't get it down anything other than a motorway because it's so wide."
But also, if you're buying one of those cars now, the magnet would have worn off the power of it anyway. Like for example, my Vectras and Audi A4s.
Exactly.
Like you buy them now, and they're like, well, they've got it's like running no magnet anyway because it's just died. You know, it's but I think that there's definitely
the one that
like
you want.
Yes.
That BMW you're looking for, the Matt Neal one.
Yeah.
I mean, I did try racing it because we have a Scalextric 90s touring car class, and I did try running that, thinking, well, I'll be clever. No one else is running it. There's a reason why no one else was running it. It falls over all the time.
Oh, really?
But, I will. But I will keep an eye out for one at Orpington in a couple of weeks.
No, thank you very much.
I don't have my old one. Probably with some scuffs on the roof from where it fell over all the time. But yes, if I've still got it, you're welcome to it. Please take it away.
The memories of those are flooding back, which is that they were the first cars I ever had, which I noticed the brown staining from the tyres going on the bodywork that you can't get rid of. So they all look like they're heavy smokers. And the wheels just fall off the axles.
Yeah.
So, and being, as you know, I may have a qualification as an engineer, but that's no reason to use it. So trying to get these wheels to stay on with various bits of kitchen rules stuffed in and all that sort of thing.
But do you not have an axle manker?
Yeah, probably, but no, that's like
Tom, as a
well,
connoisseur of 90s electric touring cars, do you have an axle manker ready to? So
I don't
if
actually.
You score somehow. So at the end of the axle where the wheel sits, if you score it with a pair of pliers or something, then the super glue tends to hold better than if you just stick a dot of super glue on, and it then breaks traction at some point when you probably.
Well, that's a very handy tip to know. Actually.
So Yeah, it's our friend Jim who races a lot. He was the one that came up with the concept of the axle manker. You just need to mank up your axles and the glue will stick.
Yeah, he never used glue though. It was just literally made the thing sufficiently misshapen that it wedged in. But you got to remember he's a banger racing champion. They wouldn't, if you could beat it to death. In the previous life he was British. What's it? I can't remember the title of it. The ones which take old rovers and smash into each other a lot. That's where his nick. Mr. M was his. That was his name. Mm-hmm. He started doing it again after I got to know him, and he started doing it again, and he was still using the same helmet. And I kid you not, literally, you take it off dust, just because it was like cork lined or something. When I went along one time, there's a track near Farnborough, isn't it? Or there was. Is it
Aldershot.
Aldershot, yeah.
Yeah.
And these guys are literally driving into each other, which is always a bit worrying. And he came out and I said, "How you feel?" He said, "Well, I'm a bit kind of stars before my eyes." You're going to go, "Well, maybe not do it then." Especially in a...
The only motorsport event I've taken my son to is actually at Aldershot. And we were there and it was throwing it down with rain. We were undercover, sort of, but it was still coming in sideways through where we were. And the banger race, one guy sort of got turned around, who was doing quite well, and somebody just sort of nerfed him and he spun. And he waited there and then just drove out and went head on into the guy who spun it. It was like, no, this is like, NASCAR times 10.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes. It was very... anyway, enough of all of that. Tom, you said have you got a track up in the room as we speak?
Yep,
yes.
I have. Yep.
So what have you been running? What have you been running most recently?
Well, so I only recently got the SEX Snow Effect track, so it's been predominantly rally cars that have been running lately at the moment because obviously you can't send a Formula 1 car around that slippery corner because it's too no grip. But
you can't convince yourself that it's real, then, can you?
No. But yes.
Aren't there famous pictures of the arrows being launched in the snow at Silverstone or something? Aren't there?
Yeah. But
not going anywhere, I think.
So obviously I've been running the Escort because that's new. I have got to run. This is still in its box and not yet run, which is the new Subaru, as you can see there. So that hasn't had a run yet.
Ah, right.
But I've also got a couple
and
of
front wheels straight.
They're not. No, they're not. But I'm gonna disregard that. But I have been running. I've got a couple of Auto Art 206 WRCs that have been running around lately, and I've got the red Marlboro livery and the silver and red Total livery. So the two different eras there of livery, and I have to say I absolutely love those Auto Art cars. Certainly on this Snow SEX track, they really do what I want them to do in terms of you can kick the back end out. You can, it just looks awesome. And one of the things I'd like to do is I shoot a lot of videos because I'm a bit of a sad muppet and I like doing Scalextric videos to put on social media, and they tend to go very well. So I like I like rigging up lots of cameras, and I've done onboard, so I've strapped cameras to my cars and done onboards and stuff like that. So I do a lot of that at the moment.
Fantastic. You must send me a link so I can put it in the description for the show. But I agree. I'm completely with you on the Auto Art cars. I think they don't slow down. Whatever the gearing is,
yes.
They kind of once they get up to speed, there's no retardation. But the detail is just fantastic. And I think that Nick and I have been talking about this, plotting kind of detail and performance, and what's the kind of sweet spot. I recently, the tyres, I don't know how yours are, the tyres on mine had all gone hard and very ungrippy. And I replaced them with some, the tyres that are meant for the sort of the mini Clubman and that era of Scalextric car anyway. And that's it, rejuvenated. They fit the rims good enough sort of thing. And it's just brought them back to life. And now, aside from the not braking, my track is there's a long fast corner and a straight into another fast corner, then hairpins. So they lose out because they've got the top speed, but you've got to let off the throttle halfway down the street because they don't slow down. But they're great. And they're sort of dancing about. I mean, and the fact that I was talking about, I'm sure the one that's got Panizzi written on the window is a bit more dramatic than the Burns one.
Just a few donuts and get some penalties, yeah.
Dear.
No, as I said,
I'm not surprised they go well on the snow track because they've got those skinny little tyres.
Yeah, but that's the best bit because they slide. If you can hold it, and I've been practicing a lot. If you can hold the drift and it does the whole drift around, it looks sensational. Absolutely looks sensational. I've got a Seat Cordoba that absolutely tackles that corner, and it can do it in one drift. And I'll show you the video of that at some point. But it just looks awesome, absolutely awesome.
So when you're doing them, do you do them in real time or do you do it in slow motion?
I do a bit of both. So I was and I'm a videographer as well as a journalist. So I sort of got a few camera tricks up my sleeve. But one of the things that have worked really well is I've got a 360 camera, and you strap that to the roof and you get the full view, and you can spin it around. It looks absolutely incredible. So I've done a few 360 videos. I did one for Hyundai. With the Sordo i20, so I showed it to Hyundai in the service park the other week, and they were like, "Oh, that's amazing!" So, that's what I do in my spare time.
That's fine. It's having fun with toy cars. That's
yeah,
all right
I did.
By us.
The other thing I did was I recreated Tarquini's famous role at Knock Hill with an Alfa Romeo 155 90s edition, and I overlaid the Murray Walker commentary onto it, and it absolutely went viral. So that's the sort of thing I like doing. The next one I want to do is I'm going to do a Hill Schumacher Adelaide 94 recreation with my with the camera strapped to the roll hoops of the two F1 cars, so we get like the TV camera feel to it.
Wow, I mean, how tiny are these cameras? I mean, they must be.
Oh, they're quite small, yeah. But I've done, yeah. You can play around with it. Like, it's amazing what you can do. Honestly, like some of the stuff that I've done, I was like, oh, I didn't think I'd be able to do that, and you can. Like, it's quite time. It takes a lot of time to put it together, and sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this? But then the end product is absolutely brilliant, and it's good. I think it's good and healthy to showcase on social media these days, like what you can do, because I think it also reinvigorates the product for the younger generation. If you can start filming stuff like this, it might get people off PlayStations and playing these again. So.
No, well, good on you. No, absolutely. I mean, it's bringing younger people into it would be we desperately need it, don't we? We desperately need younger folk in. Not buying too many old cars though, because Nick's got a whole collection of Subarus he needs to buy first before these youngsters step in and clean up with everything.
Brown bar NASCARs. That's what keep my my children occupied when I get the track out. They're fairly indestructible. I've got them. I've repainted one in a Hulk livery. I've got Batman, Joker.
Oh, nice.
They love them.
I hope you've got licenses for those.
No, but neither does the decal maker, so that's okay. We can all be in trouble together. But yeah, they're proper liveries, but they're slightly. DC Comics doesn't really know that these things are being sold.
Well, once this goes viral, I'm not. To be honest, I'm sure the licensing department are going to know. They wouldn't believe it. Oh, someone's making deck. Well, they might, I suppose. Yeah. If a really vindictive Tuesday, sort of come in and go, right, we're having the decal guy. You say decals, I say decals. So, Tom, given your love of rallying, are you tempted to enter the revised Slot Rally GB next year?
Well, I see. I did not know about this until Nick told me. So yes, I would definitely be up for this. So I'll be honest. Because I only moved back into the country a week before lockdown 1, so I've been sort of stuck in my own little place and not really knowing what's going on in the scene anymore. And obviously work's pretty hectic, so it's not often I get a free weekend. Well, I have one this weekend. So yeah, I definitely want to get into actually doing a bit more racing and meeting with more people, because I feel like I'm sort of on my own and and I'm not part of any group. So it'd be nice to sort of get a few sort of friends in that area.
It's good. Well, I hope so. I hope to see you at one. It's way back when we mentioned Jim earlier, the guy I used to call him the sort of slot car Pied Piper, because he was really good at convincing folk like I was, and sounds like you are, where you enjoy what you're doing, but you don't know anybody else who's doing it, kind of thing. And then when you go along to a club, and that's another big psychological. I'm a grown man heading off with toy cars to go and play in a room with another man with toy cars. But once you've done it, it's all right, And I mean, it was just it's great. I mean, I'm not particularly, as Nick will tell you, because he's very good at racing. I'm not particularly competitive, but every now it's fun. But
it's not about
to
that.
be a bunch
of
guys who are at the same time.
Some 4 points.
It's social thing, isn't it? It's just
there were a few race wins.
Exactly. Yeah, it's good fun. I mean, at least it's not trains. Sorry, I didn't mean it. It was a joke. I've got trains.
So have I.
I'm looking at the clock, and we probably ought...
Yeah.
Well, it's that joy of small things, isn't it? So
I'm currently
slot cars, Airfix, trains.
I'm just about to build a whole new N-gauge layout as well. That's my Christmas project.
Wow.
So we'll see how that goes.
You're terribly industrious.
Yeah.
I feel positively lazy. I mean, I struggle just putting cars back in boxes, never mind building things. Good stuff. Anyway, we better wrap up because we're going to run out of time. Tom, thank you. Hopefully you'll come back again sometime.
Oh, I'd love to. Love to come back. Yeah,
Nick,
great.
Cool. Nick, you'll definitely come back again.
Why not?
You have to. Your face is on the poster, mate. Right. Anyway, listen, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening, and we'll all sort of say goodbye and see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Have a good week. Bye-bye.